Our devotional thought today from our Old Testament deals with strategic planning for purchases during the hard times when wealth transfers from the wicked to the righteous. We're going to start in Genesis chapter 47, beginning with verse 13. Meanwhile, the famine became so severe that all the food was used up, and people were starving throughout the lands of Egypt and Canaan. By selling grain to the people, Joseph eventually collected all the money in Egypt and Canaan, and he put the money in Pharaoh's treasury. When the people of Egypt and Canaan ran out of money, all the Egyptians came to Joseph. "Our money is gone," they cried. "Please give us food, or we will die before your very eyes." I want you to notice the very first thing that leaves an economy in hard times is the circulation of cash. The money was gathered up, and it was put in Pharaoh's treasury. Now, those of us that are a little older, we're not old, but a little older, we can remember the mopping up of the liquidity from the 1980s. We can remember how money was just taken out of the economy and cash just was not circulating. Cash was just not flowing. And this is true in the hard times always. The first fatality of economic hard times is the circulation of cash. This is why you hear the statement, cash is king. This is why you hear the saying, buyer's market. People who have money to pay and they have the cash to pay, they're the ones that get the deals. So cash is the first thing to go. Secondly, the second asset that is lost in the hard times are assets that cost money to maintain. Verse 16 and 17, Joseph said, "Since your money is gone, bring me your livestock, and I will give you food in exchange for your livestock." So they brought their livestock to Joseph in exchange for food, in exchange for their horses, flocks of sheep, goats, herds of cattle, and donkeys. And Joseph provided them food for another year. Now, why would they sell these things second? Because they cost money to maintain. They have to feed all those flocks and herds. All right. So we recognize the first casualty in an economic hard time is cash. The circulation of cash dries up. The second is people want to dispose of things that cost money to maintain. Anything that costs money to maintain. This is why companies who lease out properties, they'll lose their tenants. Tenants will just say, "No, we're not going to do business there anymore." They close their leaseholds because it costs money to maintain. Any asset that takes money or resources to maintain is sold second. The third asset to transfer in the hard times when the wealth of the wicked transfers to the righteous is land. Verses 18 through 20. But that year ended, and the next year they came again and said, "We can't hide the truth from you, my lord. Our money is gone. Our livestock and cattle are yours. We have nothing left to give but our bodies and our land." So Joseph, verse 20, bought all the land of Egypt for Pharaoh. Now I want you to notice, the last thing to transfer in the hard times is land. Because land, there's not a great deal of expense in holding on to it. Yeah, you got some property taxes and stuff, but there's not a lot of expense in holding on to a piece of land. Now, land with buildings on it where you got to maintain, that might sell in the second wave. But the last wave is where the bottom feeders wait. That's where the guys that build up what they call land banking and things like that. I watched this back in the 80s. I watched it again in the 90s. They're very patient and they hang on to their cash until at the very depths of the economic struggle, when people are having to sell their land to pay their debts and having to sell their land, that's when these guys come in, and that's where huge wealth begins to transfer. Because now land, you're not dealing with a depreciating asset, you're purchasing an appreciated asset. So let me encourage you. And I'm not prophesying, but it looks like we've got some hard days, end of 22, starting in 23, when all of these debt payments are going to hit from the government and inflation is going to hit real strong and all of that. Be a little patient. Make sure you hang on to cash. Do like Joseph. You save in the good times, and then you slowly spend in the hard times. But make sure that you hang on to cash for the land.